Nice. We are recording, so if you don't want to be caught saying anything, don't say it. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the Digital Experience Platform and Technologies User Group here out of Boston. Our goal with this group is to kind of help the Boston market introduce new ideas in the DXM, DXP space, and continue conversations within Boston to kind of help promote this space some more. Tonight, we have a topic called the Adobe Digital Foundation with Darin, and we'll be jumping into that shortly. By way of a quick introduction for some of you who may not know me, my name is Dave Lozzi. I'm a consultant with Slom Consulting here in Boston. Wanted to start up this group. We started this group up in January. Wanted to just to, again, help promote the DXM space more in Boston. I've been an avid user grouper for several years now with even the Office 365 user group and other user groups around town, and hoping to kind of get the same traction and collaboration within this group as well. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback about the group, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's my contact info. And I guess without further ado, we'll switch over to Darin to talk about the Adobe Digital Foundation.
Thank you, David. Give me a second here to share it out. All right, how does that look?
Looks good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I am Darin Kuntze. That's my Twitter handle, Darin Kuntze. I am a principal partner development manager, and I've been at Adobe since 2011. I am also the co-founder of what's called AEM Rockstar. So if you're not familiar with Adobe Experience Manager, it's just a community-driven event that we crown a champion every year, and they, members of the community, whether customers or partners, demonstrate some of their cool integrations and big wins and stuff like that, and is crowned a winner in a live session. So pretty cool stuff. So let's get to it. So Digital Foundation Essentials. These are the components that make up our Digital Foundation solution. And today I'm just going to give you an overview and highlight the three here different components to the Digital Foundation, being Content Foundation, Insights, and Personalization. So first up is Digital Foundation Overview. So this will sound a little salesy initially, but I apologize, and please ask questions as necessary. Today, experiences matter more than ever. I think it's probably true. I wish we probably had more experiences now that we've been locked up for several months. But the experiences that we have online or in person, they matter more than ever. Consumers are engaged more with digital content more than other. Teens are obviously on the high end here, and millennials and Gen X and so on slowly scale down a little bit. But the average hours of device usage is actually increasing, and that's sourced by our Adobe Consumer Content Survey. The overall average is around 7.8 hours, and how often are consumers using more than one device at a time? It is pretty frequently now, as we probably all know. They want their digital experiences to be contextually relevant. So what they're working on, they want to be, offers to show up, or the overall experience to matter for what they're doing right now. So they want brand content that automatically adjusts based on where they are, their content, and their context. Consumers are less likely to make a purchase or recommend a brand if that content is not contextually relevant. And that's 54%, and I imagine it's probably increasing as the space matures. Personalization, which used to be a big challenge and a big opportunity for partners, for integrators, it's really no longer optional. So to make that impact online, we need to personalize. So we want to reduce the acquisition cost. We want to increase revenues, obviously, and we want to improve that marketing spend, make it more efficient. So make those dollars stretch a little bit farther. And so those start with great content, and great experiences are really powered by data too. So marrying the art of content and the science of data. So being able to build cool experiences using, stuff like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or whatever, Acrobat. We have a pretty good system in our Creative Cloud for creating said content, whether it's video or images or whatnot. We also have a pretty good platform for the science of data. So taking the clicks and the spends and so on, and then crunching that data in a understandable and actionable way. Most organizations really face those challenges. It's slow time to market for launching those new experiences. It takes them a long time to build those things. It's hard for them to actually deliver personalized content. A really key point here is the lack of insight into those customer interactions. They're really good at throwing content over the wall, but really not understanding how it's working or how what actions those personalized content are actually having on the consumer. So consumer/customer. So for an example, if you're doing an A/B test, it's great to have that insight to know if you actually made that change, that it actually had a lift, or if it went down or whatever. And we provide tools that allow you to do that. No integrated systems and processes. We know there's lots of vendors out in the world, and it's a little difficult to wire all this stuff together. And we understand that. So that's why we try to have a really connected experience. So making all of our solutions talk to each other as well as integrate with other software vendors. So the customer experience might be disconnected, but the customer really can derive value from the different experiences they have. So stuff like these icons, like communications via email, chat, mobile, phone, tablet, in person. We want to deliver across all these different channels and have a consistent, personalized experience to that individual. Cross-channel, obviously, and not just a week later. We want to do it real time. Our building blocks to making to success for this is really to know your customers, behavioral data, CRM stuff, as I mentioned before, segmentation, so on, analytics, content, really author and manage content for scale. So being able to deliver content and reuse it across all these different channels at scale. Strategically, be able to create a personalization roadmap, do targeting based on that said data from the far left there, as well as automating some of those personalization using machine learning. So oftentimes we're really striving for that easy button, and some of our software allows you to do that. So here's a gratuitous platform wave thing from the Gartner report. Adobe in the digital intelligent platform is the only leader in this particular one. We have lots of other slides. I don't want to bore you to death with those because we are top right, and I forget there's a slide that's got like 25 different ones of them. Here's a customer reference. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is all public information. One of our customers using the different tools here that make up the digital foundation, one being Adobe Experience Manager and Analytics in Target. And their challenge was really creating and managing digital content and tying that into personalization. And being able to really target those customers, individual customers, and also segment them based on various behaviors, and then move those visitors faster through the sales funnel. And you can see the key results on the right: 61% growth in global web visits. Silicon Labs, another one of our success stories, was a migration from an existing CMS. Again, they're using the solutions that can make up the components of the digital foundation. And really the key results here are they were just really quick at being able to deliver all this stuff, which was key. T-Mobile is the last one. Same elements of the solution here. And they were really good at getting a really granular view of their audiences, because you can imagine with a mobile customer like T-Mobile, they have a huge data set, and they really wanted to get down and target the customer to be able to give them the appropriate information as well as different offers. So order value went up and click-through rates were boosted. So here is the digital foundation packages. Is a little old content on here. It says 6.4 plus. We're at 6.5, and we're actually to a version called Cloud Service. So if you're aware of our Adobe technologies, I don't mind the version number. The capabilities inside that are still the same. So with that, AEM Sites really delivers personalization as well as enhanced insights into the right in the authoring interface itself. So as you're creating content, you don't have to jump to another tool. You don't have to, jump out of anything that you're working with. It's all in line with the content that you're working with, and it's all actionable in there. So if you see a lift on a certain thing, you say, hey, I changed this, maybe this is why I changed it, and you can dive deeper into it and slice and dice the data and so on. Capabilities included with AEM are all these different things on the right. I don't want to go into great detail on that. I don't have time for a full-on demo of the solution itself, but gives you things like, customer journey optimization and so on. So activity maps, heat maps, mobile analytics, so you can deliver to different platforms. So the benefits of the digital foundation itself: create and manage experiences at scale, and deliver the content to the right person at the right time. Next is Content Foundation. People are texting me. Content Foundation, and the Content Foundation, this is the authoring interface to create the content itself. So there is an interface here. Content authoring. So in context editing of your content, you can see on the screen here, there's a little ruler, so you can see responsive design. You have access to publish, unpublish the page, see who's done, different activities and so on, be able to see it, like I said, in a responsive way. So collapsing the window down and seeing how it reacts for the different device sizes, which you can customize all that. There's additional elements which are called content fragments, and they are like non-stylized bundles of content. So you can have text and images. So it'd be more editorial content with mixed media. We also have an auto summarization feature in it, which is kind of nice. So if you have, paragraph after paragraph, pages of content, and you want to do a summary for a lead-in paragraph or something like that, you can use our AI-powered summarization feature to, give you a really condensed version of what the content is. There's also something called experience fragments, which oddly enough are not the same as content fragments, which I talked about before, but they are a composite of a bunch of components. So you can see in the examples here, there's, an image in the middle, there's buttons and, a call to action or whatever. So the experience fragment is a reusable chunk of content that, in this case, unlike the content fragment, can actually have styling in it. So, the fonts are there a certain way, the colors and stuff like that are all encapsulated. You can take these experience fragments and then activate them out to all our different solutions and reuse them not only in Adobe products, but in other, even competitor products. So, it's very flexible. There's an easy exporter functionality in our targeting solution, so you can take it from AEM, push it to Target, and then use Target anywhere you want on the web or mobile. So pretty neat stuff. From a delivery standpoint, since we're now in a cloud service world, we have this self-service UI with our CI/CD pipeline. So you're able to, instead of standing up your own Jenkins instance, your own build systems, all these other things, is use our system and then our source code repositories and everything like that. And you can manage it without having to call up some engineer or anything like that, whether it be on your team or a customer's team or whoever. You can do these deployments on your own. We have a standard set of core components, and these are the little building blocks that make up a website. So like images and navigation and forms and so on. These are all a bunch of standardized components. So as a developer or an implementation partner, you don't have to rebuild all these things, because to be honest with you, whenever I was in consulting, we tended to rebuild the wheel every time we worked on a project, and it's nice to now have a standardized and up-to-date package of components that you're able to leverage. A cool feature of the Content Foundation in AEM is this style system. So you can create, of those core components I mentioned before, you can create individual styles that you can select from. So if you drag a component like this, I don't know what you call this, an image with a tag underneath it, you drag that component onto the page and you can individually style each one of these little boxes to have, custom, colors or sizes or whatever, and do that all through the UI. So no code involved, no anything, like just click on it and see the style system change the attributes on it. Pretty neat. So benefit-wise, reuse and repurpose. So, there's greater efficiency here, faster time to market. So your marketeers can use the tool to build their marketing content. So you don't have to hand it off to developers or web producers or whoever, that the marketers can go in and make those changes themselves. With our different hosted platforms, it's scalable, secure in a modern platform. So it's running the latest and greatest OSs, hardened performance, very scalable. So there's author clustering, there's clustering on the front end side. So you can have global scale with our systems and not worry about IT being involved to say, oh, we can't afford to add more servers. Insights. That's the kind of second pillar of the three pillars of the digital foundation essentials. And that's really flowing into the data side. So this is a view into AEM, which we mentioned before, but this is a view here to get the content insights right in the authoring interface. So as a person's authoring the content, they can click on it if they can see that in the example on the screen here, they have 913 page views, and their average engaged is a half a minute, and they know that's going up and down. They're able to try different iterations of a page, or make some sort of actionable intelligence through the analytics here. There's also additional page flow and activity maps for the right there in the analytics interface. So you're able to see entry and exit, the number of exits, and so on. So you're able to slice and dice it however you want. Within our Adobe Analytics product, there are best-in-class visualizations. So lots of graphs, lots of visualizations for how you want to create the different reports or workspaces for the different audiences that might be interested in seeing this type of data, whether it's your management, your CIO, your marketers, each of them can have their own workspace and be tailored to the specific things that they're interested in, whether it's the funnel for commerce or whether it's how effective their different campaigns are. And then since it's a very flexible analytics product, we can dump in offline data. It's not just web data, it's your CRM, your commerce, all sorts of things. And with that, we also have some AI and machine learning capabilities built in. So we're able to see detect anomalies within the data. So if they have a fairly consistent graph of, things are going up, things are going down very consistently, and then suddenly a big spike happens, you're able to instantly get alerted on well, you can set an alert, but you can look for that particular spike and then, figure out why that is, whether it's actual downtime or if you just, something really struck a nerve out in the marketing space. So, an offer, a viral video or something like that on your website caused a huge spike in traffic, and you're able to see that in real time with Adobe Analytics, as well as take that spike, create a segment out of it, and then also export that segment to any of our other products and be able to do personalization based on it. So those people that come back are now, presented with another offer saying, hey, you're interested in our viral video. How about saving 15% on this or whatever? And that yeah.
You mentioned it's easy to bring in, or you can bring in other data sources into this. Are we able to get all this data out of it if we wanted to move it into Tableau or something like that?
Yep. So you're able to export it as well.
Okay.
It's a pretty flexible system. It was, Adobe Analytics was originally Omniture. So if you're familiar with Omniture,
right.
It's been a product been around for a long time. So, and it's just been, added more features and capabilities on top of it. But the core capabilities of import and export are still there, as well as there's APIs and stuff. So you could do a Tableau integration with it, in real time. So it could have data coming in Adobe Analytics and then flowing back out to Tableau or something.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, as well, I believe we also have a Tableau integration, so you can just plug that in too. You can see at the bottom here, there's a highlighted advanced segmentation and calculated metrics. So we can create calculated segments and metrics and too. So you can also make this a marketing cloud audience, which basically syndicates your audiences to the overall marketing cloud, which makes that available to any of the other products. As well, we have two products which go a little beyond the scope of Digital Foundation, which are called Audience Manager and the Adobe Experience Platform. With Audience Manager, there's an audience marketplace. So if you are a savvy marketer and created some really cool segments that you think are of value to other customers or partners or whoever, you can actually sell those on the marketplace. So customers can go in there and buy this third-party data to use in their product to basically pre-feed their system for either personalization or different marketing things, like big spenders or whatever. So pretty neat stuff there. Jumped too fast. Double click. Attribution IQ. So we can really figure out where the different attribution to the different channels or whatever are coming from. So it's easy again to get into the workspace here and see what is really contributing to the campaign, email, social, shopping, whatever, print. You can actually feed in, again, offline data. So whether it's from a call center or something like that, you can feed that data in there and figure out where your actual sales are coming from very easily and in real time. So you're able to dice and slice that up.
Darin, is this based on the last touch model, or what's the model behind the attribution?
So you can actually configure it in a number of ways. So you can do definitely last touch, I think, is the default, but it is configurable.
Okay.
You can see first touch here in some of the different, at the bottom here, there's last touch. So you can drag it in the different metrics. So you could create a calculated metric or whatever, and then just drag that in and filter based on that.
Got it. Okay. And what are the systems that it automatically gets the data from versus the ones that might have to be integrated and data has to be imported to get the attribution information?
So we have, I don't have an exhaustive list of the integrations, but since Omniture has been around for quite a long time, most of the major vendors are pretty easy to integrate with. Obviously, the best integration we have is with what we call Adobe Launch, which is our tag management system. Makes it really easy to deploy tags for Adobe Analytics. You just, it's a couple clicks and you've deployed a tag. You put it on your site or your mobile app, and you can manage that all through Adobe Launch. So you can tie up different products as they're solutioned or provisioned for you. Sorry, yeah, as they're provisioned. So if you get more products and stuff like that, it just kind of automatically wires things together. But in cases of like I mentioned before with Tableau, there's a provisioning process that they would on the back end, enable that extension, and then you're able to integrate, give some endpoints and stuff like that in your configured. There's also some offline data stuff, which basically like a scheduled importer. There's APIs for doing integrations with other, or actually we've really extended that. There's a initiative called Adobe I/O, and if you go there, you can do integrations with a lot of, I can't say all of them, but a good fair amount of our marketing cloud solutions to import and also interact with the data from whatever system so you could create your own app really and then manage this data through APIs, as well as stuff on the creative side too. So you could do Photoshop stuff. You could create a graph in Photoshop using data driven from analytics. I don't know why you'd want to, but you certainly could do it.
All right. Thank you.
So It's a pretty, I wouldn't say it's completely unique, but it's a very cool feature is we also have mobile and single page app analytics. I know originally there was a lot of challenge with different analytics vendors around SPAs since it's not a traditional page view. Not every page load in a traditional website gets a page view, whereas an SPA is actually just calling back on itself through JavaScript and not making big round trips for the whole page. We certainly support that. We have a mobile SDK as well, so it'll integrate in, obviously with mobile apps, iOS, Android, and so on, and a bunch of other mobile platforms that I've never heard of, as well as stuff like set-top boxes for cable providers. I believe we also integrate with the Xbox, so if you're an Xbox developer for whatever reason, creating games, we can also drive the data through that. Some pretty neat stuff. And then being that we're multi-channel, excuse me, in that aspect, if you were Microsoft, for example, and you launched a game, you would instrument your game with the analytics and then drive that into Adobe Analytics, and then also have your website data and possibly your CRM data from the sales and stuff, and you're able to see a full comprehensive report based on where the actual activities and stuff are happening. So do some pretty interesting stuff there. Insights, obviously understand the performance across the customer journey, robust analysis and diagnosis tools. We also have an analytics workspace tool, which gives the marketer the ability to basically take that huge data set and then act upon it, experiment with it, come up with new and interesting things, or just play around with data and see what it's all about. A third pillar here is personalization. So I know there's other products out in the workspace, but ours is called Adobe Target, and one of its key features is just A/B testing. So you're able to test out content in a simple A/B test, going 50% going to default, 50% going experience A. But you can do multiple experiences in this simple A/B test that's shown on the screen right now. This is probably the most basic thing that you probably do. You can manage these things all through Adobe Experience Manager as well, so you can do it in multiple interfaces. You can edit the audience, and you can use those audiences we mentioned before in analytics. So you could generate an audience based on that spike in traffic, then use that audience here in Target to do an A/B test to determine which offer is going, which is a better offer out of whether A or B or C. I mean, it's A through N, so you can have as many different offers as you want. It's pretty straightforward. Again, right here we have what's called a visual experience editor. So once you integrate our target library into your site or mobile site, the editor itself, you can see the experience A, B, and C on the left. You just click on them, and it actually in context brings your site up, and you're able to edit how that page would look for that particular experience. So without actually messing around with any code. So it's doing some fancy JavaScript DOM injection on the back end when it actually is deployed, but while you're doing the editing here in the Visual Experience Composer, you can actually see it in context how it's going to look and actually mess around with it. So you can see there's different options in this little contextual menu when you click on it. So I mentioned this on the content part, is the experience fragment. So you can have that experience fragment, which is completely decoupled from the content system now that it's been exported to Target, and use that in any page. As well as doing, the different types of page delivery. So from a customer journey optimization standpoint, you can actually guide them down a specific path and attribute that to the experiences that they're having. So you can do stuff like, if I can click on this, you can use the auto allocate traffic allocation method. So it will initially, with the 100% of traffic going to these 3 experiences that are on the page, it will identify the true winning experiences over time based on the multi-arm bandit machine learning algorithm to determine the winning experience. So eventually, let's say experience A, B, and C initially are all equally receiving as much traffic, but experience A is actually meeting its goals more. You're getting more sales out of it, and then the 33% traffic that was split across all 3 of these is now starting to slowly increase on A until the machine learning algorithm determines that it is the best winner. And once it is the best experiences, you can either leave it on auto allocate, and then eventually the other two losing experiences don't receive any more traffic, or you can convert it to just a regular personalization project very easily through a context menu, and then not actually run a test anymore, because maybe the experience A starts actually losing eventually. So
Excuse me, Darin. Hi, a quick question on that. So for the auto allocate, at what point in time does it what amount of visits, or is there any kind of a number to it that this is the threshold when the winner is going to be decided? And when does it move from, let's say, splitting it equally to really understanding which performed better in, let's say, for whatever 50 visits in the first 50? So how does that numbering work on a high level?
I don't remember what the number is. I mean, if I had properly prepared for this, I would have those numbers for you. But it is a fixed number initially before it starts migrating, though, because statistically, after 3 visits, there's still no statistically true winner in that case. It's like 300 or something like that, to where it can actually start moving. So yeah, it has. I believe it's initially based on time. So after 5 days, then it kind of has a pretty good idea, as long as it's met the minimum traffic thresholds, that it can start really moving. And I think it's 7 days before it can actually, 7 to 10 days, something like that, before it can somewhat accurately determine a winner. I think it's guaranteed 95% confidence of determining a winner.
Okay, cool.
And there's a third option down here below. I'm running out of slides and also time, because I committed to 30 minutes. But anyway, there's a third option that we're not going to dig into on my slides here. On the bottom there, called Auto Target for personalization experience, or personalized experience. That one doesn't do an auto allocation based on the best experience, like an A/B, and figuring out the goals and which one. The Auto Target for personalized experience, you click that, you can apply different attributes. So it'll deliver the experience based on the attributes of the individual. So you can set the experience up with segments or attributes or whatever. They should get experience B or C based on this and that. That's the kind of third of the activities. There's actually a couple more activities that you can do within Target too, but I don't have slides on those. There's a cool feature that we previewed a couple years ago and is actually in production now, called Smart Layout. So if you have one page and you want to deliver them, there's a Smart Layout container that you can put on the page, and it might have 4 or 5 different components that you choose ahead of time. And just like Target would have these different experiences predefined, but those experiences are predefined by an author initially. This Smart Layout actually is able to slide stuff around automatically. So it's doing a dynamic page layout based on what it thinks is the best experience. So there might be 50 different experiences out of this, and it'll determine the winner of that particular layout. So this is some pretty crazy advanced machine learning with our machine learning algorithms called Adobe Sensei to optimize that layout for the content and the surface. So if on the desktop it performs one way and mobile it performs differently, it's able to optimize those based on, you give it some key metrics to deliver that on.
Darin, is this what you meant by fluid personalization when you showed us the capabilities slide up front?
It is.
And the fluidity of this, how much of that needs to be wired in a sense, like the decisioning around layout 1 versus layout 2 versus layout 3, is that based on user behavior, past data? What is it based on? Do you have like a...
So this particular capability, Smart Layout, is based on behavior and pre-setup that you do. So there's no extra coding that you need to do to take advantage of this, because this is all AI stuff. This particular one that's on the screen right here. Stuff like, I'm going back a slide. These experiences and stuff, again, there's not a whole lot of stuff you need to set up. So you don't have to write a bunch of code or do anything like that to take advantage of this advanced personalization, because it's all baked into the product. So you don't have to write your own machine learning algorithm or do anything like that. Actually, you can't for Adobe Target. So there are some interesting capabilities coming down the pipeline that could potentially unlock some of those features. So if you have something that in mind that you think is better, then you can certainly leverage those. But as of right now, I mean, the capabilities are built in. It's fairly rigid in its delivery capabilities, but I mean, you can do tons of stuff. So again, you can do auto personalization based on attributes. You could do the auto allocation. You could do smart layout stuff like this.
Now that's pretty neat.
And with that, I mean, that really ends it for me from the benefits. I do have a bunch of extra slides at the end if we had some more slide if we want to go to that actually demo some of this stuff. So I have an additional demo, I don't know, like 10 more slides. So
Darin, like I had a couple of questions. So one is like we have traditionally used this, right? AEM for like just the CMS use case, analytics for like web analytics, data capture. So what is different with this digital foundation, right? Is it like more of like a package solution, or is there like inherent integration or any additional features that we are getting out of it?
It is solutionized, so it's a package so that it unlocks a bunch of pre-built workspaces and stuff like that in analytics. You get some quick start stuff for launch and target and stuff like that. So if you're delivered a digital foundation solution, it goes a little bit beyond the scope of a presentation like this. It's priced differently, and you get if a customer purchases this solution, they get Target, they get analytics, they get a few other things for a specific price point with actual cap limits on the number of page calls and stuff like that. So it's all bounded by a box a little bit. You can certainly it can be increased and stuff like that. There's no limitation necessarily, but as a solution, it's just boxed up.
Okay. Yeah.
And on the similar lines, Darin, is there some sort of a variant if we were to go with the cloud service option? Where does this fit in with that new offering?
It fits in well because we can provision everything for you ahead of time. So launch is already pre-configured with cloud service. We have a template for analytics. So all the components that were released, I think 2 weeks ago, the core components now have data layer capability built into them. So you're able to use the data layer within those, and it's all, it comes pre-wired to do all this stuff. So there's no extra steps to do it. And with cloud service, I think the future, I'm pretending to not know anything, what engineering has in the future, but a lot of the services that stuff like AEM offers today that are native to AEM will be decoupled a little bit into discrete services that you can leverage in other solutions. So like our assets compute service, it's not part of AEM necessarily today. It passes through and goes to another service that does asset processing. It's transparent to an AEM user, but it is a discrete service by itself, and thereby can be leveraged by these Adobe I/O APIs too. So you can use it in other systems and integrate with different products and do some pretty cool things. So it's kind of like Photoshop in the cloud almost. So pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. Darin, we have a few minutes, so if you don't mind, if we can go through the demo, I think that'll be great.
All right. Let's see. So I don't know if you've seen this, but here is what the content performance pages look like in the content insights. If you've not seen this, it's actually kind of an old feature that we've had in AEM for a while, but you can see in the left-hand side, the different pages and stuff like that. These haven't been published for whatever reason, but this is a screenshot. But you can see the page views, so 39,000 and so on. You can see the up and down arrows. You can actually drill into it, farther. And you can filter this screen too. So to get to this page, you click on the top right. There's a little, dots with lines next to them. You click on that, you get add custom analytics data columns to the view. So you can do asset, impressions, bounces. You can actually customize this too. So if there's a particular metric that you're interested in, you can add this to these columns here and add them to the page. So there's specific things that are interesting to you. Once this is enabled, which again, it's enabled through just a cloud service thing, you add some credentials and boom, you're provisioned. It has to run through a job to pull down the data, but it'll activate a button at the top of the page called Analytics and Recommendations. And when you highlight a particular page or section and click on that, that's when you get to the Content Insight page. So you can pull a window to see the different bounces and page metrics and so on. So you can see, week 1, week 2, whatever. And actually, you can see at the top, you can have different phases to the Content Insights. You can see from a publishing standpoint when you're in a draft phase where the content was, and as it went to production one, you do different releases and stuff. So you can do some pretty neat things. And it gives you the option to go to Adobe Analytics at the bottom. So this is just a window to the insights right in AEM. If you really wanted to dive deeper into it, you can click onto that and it puts you right into analytics at the content that you want to see. So bounces in this case, if you're clicking on the stuff on the right. So you can really dig deeper with analytics. So here's the example of those kind of pre-configured workspaces for the digital foundation. So out of the box, if you just get a analytics provision for you, it's quite empty from templates. When you're provisioned for digital foundation, you can actually, if you have a analytics instance today, it's pretty easy just to contact customer care and say, I would like these templates, and they can turn it on, and there's no cost to it. And so it'll enable all these templates, and so you can look at the highlighted one here, content consumption or campaign performance or whatever, audio consumption, because you can actually do audio tracking too. It's doing some pretty neat stuff, video, head movement and stuff like that, where people scan through your video and stuff. So you can do some neat stuff like that. Anomaly detection, I already mentioned that before. Don't really need to go too much in that, but you can see the different events, the little balls on the bottom of the timeline up there. And if you click on them, you can actually get a little analyze menu to wonder why there's a 6.3 bounce rate on that particular thing. You can actually, when you analyze it, it runs a quick little process and then will give you a concise report based on what it found in the anomaly detection report. Drag and drop within the UI. I don't know if you guys are familiar with analytics. So you have this little menu on the left side here, and you can grab those different metrics or views or whatever segments and pull them to the top of the page. So you can grab like a form starts and put it at the top of the page, and then make this particular report more interesting to you. So it'll return, in this example, different page views based on the U.S. states, returning visitors, and see how each of these different menu options have graphs from left to right, or the line graphs, or whatever. And so you can present it basically however you is most interesting to the consumer of this, as well as some really contextual, so you can get deeper insights right into the different options too. So I can click on a particular thing that I'm interested in, like California content velocity, and then download them or do a trend selection or create a segment from that because you think that's somewhat interesting. Mentioned this before for the make this a marketing cloud audience. So once you create audiences, you can take that audience and syndicate it out to the different products and reuse it across the platform. And I believe, depending on which solution you have, you can get to a point. We're actually using Adobe I/O. You can actually export those audiences to be used in other platforms. So you could use it in Google, for example, or some other thing if you want to do the integration. We don't provide an out-of-the-box integration to do that, but all the parts and pieces are there to do it. Personalized content with experience targeting. So creating an experience is pretty easy to, as easy as clicking create experience, naming it. And in this particular case, this is all within AEM. So with the experience, it's going to actually export it to Target. So once you created your experience, drag all your components and stuff to it, click next. It's going to export to Adobe Target. There's a little menu, window pops up. So you've never left your content authoring tool here to do personalization, or even A/B testing. You didn't even have to go over there. If you went into Target after the fact, you can see those activities were created for you and don't have to worry about it. It's a great time saver. And you can see here in the holistic view, as I mentioned before, if you went into Target, you can see some of the activities were created in Adobe Target. You see the one highlighted here, Adobe Experience Manager created it. And you can see the different types on the left. So A/B testing, there's an experience targeting one. There's also target recommendations that you can run. So you can take Rex is based on commerce, so you can upload your catalog and create references to different things in your catalog. So if someone puts a bunch of stuff in their cart and you want to say, have you also considered this? It can look at your current cart and look up the different recommendations based on AI and present those to the customer. So whether you've actually say, if a person buys a flashlight, they should get batteries. If you've actively connected those two or not, the AI will actually learn that batteries, people oftentimes, when they get a flashlight, they buy batteries, for example.
Darin, hi.
Yeah.
Question about the experience fragment that got exported to the
Yep.
Adobe Target, right? So, in terms of the integration between the AEM author instance and the Adobe Target instance, so what is that configuration that connects the two? Is it anything additional that we need to do in addition to adding the target library through launch? Is there a different specific set? And I think how does the connection work? We have to configure another framework or something to connect the two?
So to connect the two, if you're not going to use the experience fragment in AEM, you don't have to do anything. You have to provide your credentials in AEM for Target. So you have to type in your Marketing Cloud org and your password or whatever, your key swap or whatever. However, you've been provisioned for Target. Once you've set that up, you can export to your experience fragments to Target, and then you use that on whatever. I mean, if you're going to use it in AEM, sure, you got to configure launch at that point and add Target as a extension.
So is it like an additional cloud config that I need to configure, or just having Adobe Launch present on that, because Adobe Launch won't be present in the screen where,
Right.
I'm creating that experience fragment, right? So I think that's where I'm not sure, where exactly does it know, on that experience fragment?
So an experience fragment isn't it's a component of a page. So you're authoring the experience fragment independent of a page in AEM.
Good.
So you don't need launch at that point.
Correct.
If you're creating a page and want to use that experience fragment in it from Target, then yes, you need launch configured and you need Target configured on the AEM side. That's all you need. So it's not additional code or anything like that. Once you configure launch, because the launch library the integration with AEM will inject that for you automatically. You don't have to add it to your templates or anything like that. For the experience fragment, all that's doing is creating I believe it's using Adobe I/O for its provisioning process. So you have to create a certificate and import that certificate in AEM. Once you've done all that stuff, then it enables the experience fragment export. And once that's done, you're done. You don't have to mess with it anymore.
And okay, so I think it's the Adobe IMS where we create that certificate and connect that configuration. Is that probably is the step that's going to do this thing, right?
Yep. There's one way. There's the classic way of doing it. Username and password does not work.
Okay, it's now IMS only, right?
Yep.
Okay. And what about the sync? Let's say I update my experience fragment, which I need to reflect on the page. So do I, and let's say I activate the page. Now in my page activation in AEM, it's definitely going to, pick up the change done in the experience fragment as a dependency, right? But my general replication agents would only be publishing it to the publish instances and maybe clearing the dispatcher cache and Akamai cache and all that. So how does that sync go back to Adobe Target for that experience fragment?
So it goes into a queue on Adobe I/O, and then Target runs a job about every 8 minutes, I believe, and goes out and clears out that queue. So if you've gotten in at minute 7, you're going to get near immediate. It's going to update quick. If there's a backlog, a ton of people are doing a bunch of stuff, you can experience, like I said, 8 minutes or so delay.
Got Got it. So there is no additional sync related, nothing additional needs to be done in order to make sure that our experience fragments that are updated on, it's all being handled out of the box by the connection that we do, connection that we establish with that IMS, right?
Yep.
So no additional stuff. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Some good questions. Yeah, I'm down to, again, a few more slides. So from, like, here's an example of a bunch of those experience fragments that were exported from AEM. They're obviously missing icons, but being this was probably a demo, they just missed, or they didn't activate them on the correct publish instance. So here's the manual thing. We've already seen this. So selecting the correct audience, you click manual. In this particular case, you just click on the little 3 dots over there and replace audience. And again, you have the experience cloud or marketing cloud, depending on what you want to call it, the different audiences. So you have this shared audience. You can see these were by the AAM integration user. So those are actually coming from Audience Manager. Target can also have its own audiences. So you can go in there and create your own audiences too if you want targeted. There's a integration for analytics within Target called Analytics for Target, A4T for short, that makes Adobe Analytics the single source of truth for all the targeting data too. So whenever a goal is met or whatever like that, Analytics is tracking that data, and then Target goes out and calls Analytics for that instead of just being kind of siloed off into Adobe Target. Auto allocation, I mentioned that before, but we can dive in just a little bit deeper here to see what those are. You can change the priority, the reporting settings and stuff. The primary goal is, what determines success for that. You can have multiple additional metrics and success criteria for that, and the different audiences for reporting. So with that, I know we're 2 minutes from the top of the hour. I think that does it for my slides.
Thank you. This was really, really helpful.
Cool. Glad to help.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see what slides I have now. Cool. Thank you very much, Darin. That was fantastic. As I mentioned before, we did record this, so this will be up on our YouTube channel the next couple of days, and we'll share that out on our socials. So feel free to share as needed. We do have, tentatively, our next session is July 21st. We're talking with Acquia. We have one of their reps that will be coming in to discuss something Drupal specific. I think we're still narrowing down the actual topic, but right now it is penciled in for July 21st. If it's not the 21st, it'll probably be the week after, the 28th. So stay tuned there. Follow us on Meetup and Twitter to get the latest updates on that. And that's it. Once again, thank you, Darin, so much. Greatly appreciate it. It's a fantastic session. If anybody has any questions, comments, or feedback, there's all my contact info. There's the user groups, Twitter, and Meetup URL as well. And if there's nothing else, we can say goodnight.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darin. Bye.